Okay, I'm going to call to order the Thursday, March 14th meeting of HEDRA here at 6 p.m. We have a quorum, so we shall get moving. Staff, would you like to start off with running us through the minutes or anything you want to point off on those?
Yeah, the minutes will stand as they are. If you have any questions on those, we can make any amendments.
Any questions on minutes? Any motions?
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Okay, all in favor of approving minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay. Motion carries. Bills.
Yeah. Looking at the bills for this month, have a few legal bills here for various sales of property and other assistance that we have with the land sales. Those would be items that we would recoup back from the land price. And then some other general matters that we have under legal. Ellers Financial was some economic development training that Alex Menke attended earlier this month. Really good training that they offer in tax increment financing and other economic development. So that's what we have for bills this month.
Great. Any questions or comments on bills? Okay, any motions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving bills, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries, bills are approved. Getting on to orders of business. First one, item A, Resolution 2024-05, Amendment to Facade Improvement Grant at 301 2nd Street East.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. It's kind of a revisit from last month's meeting since we had lack of quorum. So in October, HEDRA reviewed and approved a facade improvement grant submitted by Amy Sutton, representing Hastings Family Service, located at 301 2nd Street East. At the time of the application, there was only a partial amount of quoted work due to a miscommunication and misunderstanding in how the grant program was funded. They were under the assumption that it was a full reimbursement instead of the partial grant reimbursement. Had they known that, they would have submitted the entire project cost to get that reimbursement. So what we are asking for, or what they are asking for, is to be kind of made, not made whole, but they're submitting the rest of the project costs to get their grant back. So in October, HEDRA did approve a $1,600 grant, and they are looking for an additional $1,350 to be added on top of that to equal that 2-to-1 match. And I'll stand for any questions.
I'll just restate my abstention on this issue, as I am a member of the Hastings Family Service Board, and I also volunteer at Hastings Family Service.
Okay, any other questions on retroactive reimbursement for work done last year due to the miscommunication? Okay, any motions?
I'll move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor of approving the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And did we have any clarity on what, if that applies to, does that impact this year's ability to request further reimbursement for them? Does this go under last year, or does this go under this year as far as what they've received?
Due to the communication, I would classify this as last year's payment, so they'd be able to apply again for this year.
Yeah, I'm good with that as well. I just wanted to make sure we weren't breaking any accounting rules, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Good, all right. Moving on to item B for the sale of property at the southwest corner of South Frontage Road and Pleasant Drive.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to put up some information here on what we're looking at tonight, kind of a two-part exercise. There we go. And go back one. All right. So tonight, folks, we've got a public hearing and potential action by the board tonight. And this is pertaining to this property I'm showing here, which is 3.94 acres. It's owned by HEDRA, located at the southwest corner of Pleasant Drive and South Frontage Road. When you take a look at the area here, Highway 55 is to the north, Pleasant Hill Library is to the northwest. We've got some Dakota CDA townhomes to the west, McCullough Elementary, other housing to the south, and then Westview Mall to the east of the property. You may be wondering, we own this property? We were just dedicated this property by the city council recently. City council did convey the property to HEDRA on February 8th. There was a determination made by the planning committee of city council and ultimately by the council itself to determine whether this property should be open to the public or open to a public bid for sale of property. And there was a determination made by city council that there was not a public use remaining for this property. Little history on it: the property was dedicated to the city back in 1968 for public purposes. In reviewing that aspect with our city attorney, we learned that the public use aspect of the property has expired. That expired after 30 years, and that the property is unencumbered and could be considered for sale. So the question that we had for the city council was, should this property be available for private use? City council made the determination, yes, this is something that we would entertain. Didn't get into any of the details pertaining to what or price or any conditions, but that this is something that should be entertained. And because HEDRA is the group and the body within the city that takes care of private land sales for redevelopment, it was determined that the property should be conveyed to HEDRA and that HEDRA should be the one that would look at negotiations and the specifics for sale of property. So that's what we're looking at tonight. I'll give a little more background on the property itself. This is what we're looking at here. When we looked at this at the last meeting, we conceptually looked at the potential of the offer and whether this is something that we would look to entertain at a future meeting, which the discussion was favorable on it. So we're bringing back tonight the application or the agreement itself, which is consistent with your discussion last month. So a little bit of background on the property. It has a stormwater pond on it. It's guided for low-density development, zoned for mid-density development. What that means is there would be some land use changes necessary for commercial development of the property. Commercial development does abut the site, so it's not out of the realm or question that it could be used commercially on this. The offer for the property is $850,000, which would be paid by CBRE and Mint Development here. It would be for a national retailer. That has not been identified publicly as far as what that retailer would be, but that would be what the end use would be on the property. There'd be $10,000 in earnest funds paid for that. And so we went through a little bit of analysis at the council and with HEDRA last month. When you take a look at the location of the property, it's a prominent location near 55 and Pleasant, near a stoplight in the vicinity of other commercial development. Would need a land use change on there. The land use change is consistent with other properties within the vicinity and other commercial development within the area. Our availability of commercial land within that corridor is limited right now. Along 55, there's only, I think, 3 vacant land sites marketed for commercial development. They're owned by the same person and basically in that general Sebin Highway 55 area. So there's not a lot of land within the corridor available right now. The ponding on the site would have to remain, as well as the capacity for future ponding that is driven by the development would need to be taken care of on site as well. So the offer price would be $850,000 or $495 per square foot. Our analysis of that, we believe that's a fair offer. We were provided with some other comps in other cities. We did our own independent research on that one, and we are comfortable with the terms and the offer price that is moving forward with the contract itself. So, Commissioners, there's 2 actions that I'm asking for consideration tonight. One is to hold a public hearing. This would be a disposition of property, so we can hold a public hearing and take any comment that the public may have. After the conclusion of the public hearing, looking for your consideration in authorizing signature of the purchase and development agreement. We have Rob Bars here tonight from Mint Development who may be able to answer any questions as well, and I can stand for any questions. So at this time, Commissioners, I would advise you to open the public hearing and then we can go from there.
For a motion?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yeah, we can have discussion first, certainly. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
So can you, John, talk a little bit about the ponding area? We presently have stormwater drainage for the neighboring parcels, and they have to accommodate for stormwater needs. I just want to acknowledge some feedback I've received from our community that the watershed might suffer by adding more paved development. And then there might be increased runoff. So I know that we've already discussed that, and that's been something that we've focused on when talking about this parcel. But can you address that a little bit publicly?
Sure.
Please? And maybe that's a Rob question, I don't know.
Yeah. So within the property itself, I think you can kind of see it roughly in this area. It's a low portion, and it takes runoff from neighboring property. I believe there's culverts that come from the western end of it. Under stormwater rules, whenever a new property develops, it has to not only accommodate the stormwater that's on there presently, which includes the runoff from the properties that are disposing of water onto the property presently, but also for any more runoff that would be generated by the new development. So if the new development has a parking lot and building, impervious surface, that's going to have its own need for stormwater generation, stormwater ponding. So to sum it up, there's going to be a lot of stormwater ponding on this site, probably more than you would typically see for this site, because it not only has to take care of what the development would put out there for stormwater needs, but also for stormwater generated on the property at present.
John, one other question regarding that. So this would be still subject to additional permitting and environmental study, which would be going through the county? Is that accurate?
Environmental study might be a little too strong of the word. What would happen, next steps that would happen after an authorization by the council or by the HEDRA here, is there'd be various land use applications. One of them would be a change of the zoning and the comprehensive plan. The other would be our site plan review, which would take a look at the grading, drainage, and erosion control of this. We've got certain requirements under our city code that are drawn by the state rules as far as what happens with stormwater. So they would have to present very detailed modeling as far as impervious surface and how stormwater drainage would work, not only for existing, but post-construction activities.
Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. That helps to clarify a lot of these concerns for me personally. I hope for my constituents as well. I would like to make a motion to approve this.
Actually, we got to still hold the public
Just kidding,
hearing.
we still need to hold the public hearing.
I
Sorry.
guess
I was mostly thinking about this.
Okay.
I also have a question too, just given the land available in the area. I mean, there's vacancy in Westview Mall. There's the land right in front of Walmart. Just given the nature of this land that is basically in a hole, why this site versus the other sites that are ready to go? Seems like more ready to go anyway.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's really a question that I could answer. Might be one for the developer.
Evening, Commissioners. Rob Barrs, Mid-Development. Thanks for the time. So great question. So for our primary user that we're searching for, the land that John mentioned that's available in front of Walmart, Nick Konzemius's land, all of that would be restricted for our user and too small for them specifically. So none of that land would work for them. Westview is probably the only potential alternative for development if there was an opportunity to acquire part of it and knock part of it down essentially, so that the user can deploy their, we'll call it prototype that they like to have when they come into a new market. So those are the primary reasons that we pointed to the site, and the grading and stormwater will be our primary challenge to make the site viable for development. As John mentioned, it's a 4-acre site. They currently take on about an acre roughly of stormwater. We'd be looking to try to manage to create about a 2.5 acre, at minimum 2 acre pad to develop on, and then use the rest for green space and stormwater.
and the Niconzemius site is not usable due to zoning, or?
So they actually, so it's twofold. The parcels are too small for what we're looking to do. The one in Lina, in front of Lina, is probably large enough. But based on past research, they actually have deed restrictions on their parcels, not a zoning issue from the city, but deed restrictions that sometimes get applied from when Walmart comes in and builds. They restrict other users from coming in.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
John, can I just open the public hearing? or
Yes,
do I need to take a
that'd be
motion?
appropriate, Mr. President. Just if you open the public hearing, invite anyone that would want to comment, come forward. I can also check if there's anyone on Zoom. Once there appears to be no one else that is looking to address, then you can look to close the public hearing, and then we can resume comment.
Okay.
Thank
we
you.
will- All right, thanks, John. We will now open the public hearing. If anybody has any comments or would like to share any questions, thoughts, concerns, they may do so.
Quick look on Zoom here. I didn't see anyone earlier, but let's go there. Nope, I don't see anyone there either, so I don't believe we have anyone that's looking to speak, Mr. President.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay. So at this point, you are looking for a motion to approve? Is that accurate?
That is correct, or any other questions or discussion the commission may have.
Motion? Okay. All in favor of approving the motion to move forward with investigating the sale of the property, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have reports and information.
Microphone, I guess, this time. Reports and information. I did realize that a lot of the information I put in here was the same as I had in February. So I will try to, on the fly, go through and update things. Related to the Walden development, we are in the process of reviewing the preliminary plat application and scheduling that for Planning Commission review. At this point, the earliest would be April 8th. I believe that's a pretty good date at this point. And that would be for the preliminary plat, site plan, really the whole development itself. And so that would be going out for public hearing notices at the end of the month, and then go to Planning Commission April 8th, go to the council at the end of April at that point. We're also working with the Park and Recreation Commission pertaining to park dedication for that subdivision. It's a large subdivision. They reviewed it in February. We're not sure whether they wanted to do, they're looking, I believe, to do some combination between partial park dedication and payment of cash in lieu of land. And so we're going to be discussing that with them further this month, and then hope to have some formal action pertaining to that. So that one keeps moving along itself. With Simply Secure Storage at Spiral and Glendale, that did go to Planning Commission last Monday on the 11th. They did recommend approval of that. That's going to go to council coming up on the 18th. There's been some questions on that, on some access issues and other things that we continue to work with the developer on that. So we will have more discussion and review of that by the council on Monday. On Hastings Co-op Creamery, they're doing some work on site over there. We did issue them a citation last month and are following up on that to try to get to some timely conclusion for the cleanup on that project. Our apartment projects in town continue to move along, which is great to see. We also will have on council on Monday a small lease for 213 Ramsey Street. That is the part of the old ALDC, I think it was, School District 200 space that's been vacant. Got an entity that's wanting to use it for a couple of months in April and May for, what was it again, Alex?
They're currently looking to use it to stage for estate sales. Stage and hold the sales there for a couple of months as an interim space until they can get into their more permanent space.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to have a little bit of income come in and some, more importantly, just some eyes on the property there, which will be good. And then we'll take a look at the future plans for that as we come forward. Other than that, I think that's most of, the other one with South Oaks 4th Edition, we did get all the plat information in and final documents and payments and everything necessary to do the final drawings and to start construction on that by Greg J. in the next month or so. So we'll see activity finally down there, which will be good. And I think that's all I've got to report on updates.
John, my question is, at the creamery, is there any way we can insist they cover over that roofing material or something with the storms, spring storms coming, and a lot of that stuff could be blowing into the neighboring properties and creating some issues?
I'll take a look at that. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments or questions on the development updates? Okay, I guess we're looking for a motion to adjourn. Okay. Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay.